There's an old saying, may you live in interesting times. Today has been a particularly interesting time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the program which we call In Pit Lane, coming from a new studio. Yes, we're from a brand new studio. It has been one of those days. You know, we didn't know we were going to be in a new studio until about 11 o'clock this morning. As you can see, we don't have any of our regular graphics. We have all new equipment which we never played with before. It's yet to be broken in, or in fact yet to be broken, and we don't want to be the first people to break it. But we're in the brand new studio here at RMI TV in the heart of Grand Prix City, Melbourne. So hopefully this is all coming through to you loud and clear. Now, as some of you would be aware, we've been promoting over the past week that John Davison would be coming in to talk to us about his plans to run for the presidency of the Confederation of Australian Motorsport. Now, unfortunately, for reasons beyond our control, John is unable to be here this week. We're hoping to have him in, hopefully, fingers crossed, next week. We're still working on that, but unfortunately that came very late in the day as well. And 25 minutes after, we found out that our band had cancelled as well. So it has been one of those days. But thankfully, we've got a couple of people who have come in, well, at the very, very last note. They found their way through the maze that is RMIT and all the constructions to actually be in the studio. And there are Jay Robotham, who is going to be, he's the South Australian XL champion. He's only 15 years old, and this weekend up at Wakefield Park, he's going to be driving in the Toyota 86 in the Australian Production Car Championship. We'll be finding out about that a little bit later on. Also, it's summertime, which means a couple of things. It means drag racing, it means sunburn, it also means speedway. And we're going to be talking with Declan Robinson, and he's from the junior quarter midgets, and we'll be finding out what a junior quarter midget is in just a moment. But right now, look, we were out at Sandown on the weekend. It was the historics, and lots of other things happened as well. Hopefully, if they can figure out what button to push in the control room, we will take you to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Every man and his duck were at Sandown last weekend for the 2017 historic Sandown. It was the 26th running of the event, which once again attracted an impressive lineup of famous cars and drivers. Numbers were down, however, from previous years, due in large part to an unnecessary clash with another historic meeting in Sydney. Still, there was plenty to see on and off the track, and a large crowd enjoyed the day and some stunning spring weather. The big Formula 5000s provided plenty of speed and noise, and it was a dominant weekend for Brian Sala in the Matic A50 Chev. Andrew Robinson challenged early in his Lola, but just couldn't find a way past the locally built machine and had to be content with second place. Jeff Munday slowed early in his Elfin MR5, but he recovered and went on to finish the race. Frank Harris drove the beautiful Team VDS Chevron B24 to third place, with Bill Hemming fourth in his Elfin MR8. At the other end of the open wheeler spectrum was the Formula Fords, and another large turnout for this increasingly popular historic category. Unfortunately, a red flag ended the final race, with Jonathan Miles leading home Richard Davison in a Van Diemen 1-2. Andy Nethercote was third in his Reynard. John Bowe had a busy weekend with 2 wins in the March 741 in Groups P, Q and R, and 3 out of 3 in Groups M&O Sports Racing in the Immaculate Brabham BT31. Bowe's only real opposition came from Laurie Bennett in the very fast and great sounding Elfin 600. Bowe failed to start the final race for Groups P, Q and R, leaving the early running to Andrew Mackey's Chevron. But a retirement on lap 2 saw David Hardman in the Hardman, built by his father Jim, take the lead until he too was out of the race. This left the Formula Holden Hocking 901 of Rowan Carrick to take the win. Chev V8 Power ruled the Group S sports cars with the Corvette 1-2 for Paul Blakey and Philip Ross. Tony Floriani was the first non-Chev home, taking third place in his Porsche. Although things were settled up front, there was plenty of close racing further back in the pack, and certainly no shortage of variety, with everything from Datsuns to De Tomassos providing a stirring sight for sports car lovers. More V8 power in the historic touring car feature, although it was the 6-cylinder Charger of Les Walmsley that led home the Bent 8 Brigade in another shortened race. Walmsley was under heavy attack from the Mustang of Daryl Hansen when the red flag flew on lap 4, and the official results showed Hansen as the winner, although there was no explanation given as to why. The popularity of the day once again showed that nostalgia's big business. Just how big we'll once again see next March with the annual Phillip Island Historic Classic. Marc Marquez is the 2017 MotoGP champion after riding to a third-place finish to clinch the championship. Marquez suffered an early scare in his title chase when he ran wide early in the race, almost coming off, but he hung on to recover to take enough points to seal the title. With Marquez riding a more conservative race, it was left to his teammate Danny Pedrosa to take the win with a brilliant last-lap pass on Jonathan Zarco. Sebastian Vettel won last Sunday's Brazilian Grand Prix. The Ferrari driver took the lead on lap 1 and hung on to hold out Valtteri Bottas and Ferrari teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Lewis Hamilton started from pit lane after a crash put him out of qualifying, but he drove a great race to finish 4th ahead of Red Bull's Max Verstappen. It was another tough week for Daniel Ricciardo, who suffered a 10-place grid penalty for an engine change, then spun on lap 1. He recovered to finish behind Verstappen in 6th place. Matt Kenseth denied Chase Elliott his first career win, passing the number 24 on the final lap to win his first race of the season, the Can-Am 500 at Phoenix. Kenseth, who at this stage doesn't have a drive for season 2018, took his 39th NASCAR win. Brad Keselowski earned the final spot in the Championship 4 despite finishing back in 16th place, and now joins Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick at Homestead Miami Speedway for the final shootout for the NASCAR Championship season. More success for New Zealand Motorsport as Kiwi driver Nick Cassidy and teammate Ryo Hirakawa clinched the 2017 Super GT Championship after finishing second in the final round of the season at Motegi. The race was won by the Nissan pairing of Ronnie Quintarelli and Tsugo Matsuda, who finished second in the championship, just 2 points behind the champions in the final standings. Meanwhile, Japanese fans were treated to a glimpse of a possible future after 3 DTM cars joined their Super GT compatriots as all 6 manufacturers hit the track at once for the very first time. After the display, both sides reaffirmed a commitment to closer ties and possible regulation parity by 2020. And Brittany Force has become the first woman in 21 years to win drag racing's highest honour with a victory at the season-ending NHRA event at Pomona. Force defeated Sean Langdon in the final after wrapping up the championship earlier in the day. Robert Hight secured his second NHRA Funny Car Championship in the first round of eliminations on Sunday, but he lost the final of this race to Tommy Johnson Jr. Bo Butner claimed his first NHRA Drag Racing Series Pro Stock World Championship by winning the event. Butner drove his Chevy Camaro to a win over Tanner Gray to take the title. And Andrew Hines won in Pro Stock Motorcycle, beating teammate and newly crowned world champion Eddie Krawiec. Want to know more about In Pit Lane? Well, you can support us via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/In Pit Lane. Remember to subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Check out the In Pit Lane website for lots of live streaming and all the latest news. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, email us at theshow@inpitlane.com, and to find out more about effective and affordable advertising for your company or products, email us at advertise@inpitlane.com. In Pit Lane, 21 years, and they haven't killed us yet. Welcome back. Oh, there we are. We're on camera 1. That's all. There's a new shot. There's another. I tell you what, James, if you're in the control room, you hear me at all, we have another new shot that we'd like to show you if they can switch it up at some stage, which is our PTZ camera, or PTZ cameras, I suppose we should be calling it. Can we bring up the PTZ camera at all, James? There it is. There it is. Hello up there in the PTZ camera. Well, there we are. See, all the technology in the world. Welcome. We've also got the... No, don't get too close, James. No, don't get too close. Thank you, James. Yes, also, if things aren't crazy enough in here, we have a very large blowfly sort of buzzing around at the moment, which is making life really interesting as well. Before we go on, I should, on a very serious note, of course, over the weekend there was a tragedy in Perth involving an 8-year-old Anita Board from in the Junior Dragsters. Look, all we can say is to the family, to the friends of Anita, I can't for a moment understand the heartbreak that you must be going through at the moment. To lose a child like that, it would be just absolutely awful. To compound the thing unnecessarily, however, has been some of the ridiculous comments that are coming on social media and also the mainstream media. Social media, I mean, look, it's a great big sort of dumping ground for stupidity. There's no filter there. That's both its beauty and its weakness. And unfortunately, people, there are nasty people out there saying stupid things, and that's really bad. But the mainstream media, and that includes some politicians. In fact, the acting Premier of Western Australia, Roger Cook, said, this was the only bit of common sense he said, I am not an expert in motorsports. I'm certainly not an expert in motorsport safety, so it's appropriate that we wait for the various inquiries to go into this and to make sure we get to the bottom of the matter. Roger, if you'd have left it at that, it would have been a bit of wise advice to yourself. Unfortunately, he then went on to say, 96 kilometres an hour seems an extraordinary speed to me. I think it would strike anyone that it is an extraordinary speed for an 8-year-old to be having control of a vehicle. Roger, as you say yourself, you don't know, you're not a motorsport expert, you know nothing about it. Could I just give you some wise advice? You're acting Premier of the state, you're having your 5 minutes of fame, just shut the hell up, all right? It's bad enough for the family as it is. It's bad enough for all of us in the sport when these things happen, and to have idiots going around making stupid comments like that isn't helping anybody. Let's just wait for the inquiries to come through. The Australian National Drag Racing Association, the coroner and the police will have a full inquiry, and hopefully the only thing that can come out of these things, the only good things that ever come out of it, is whatever we learn will hopefully make the sport safer for the next generation as well. But junior drag, we've been covering junior drags since they started in Australia. I've never even seen one single accident, let alone anything where somebody's been badly injured, let alone killed. So this was a freak accident. Let's wait and see what happens. Wait and see what the outcome of an inquiry is, and then by all means comment. But until then, just shut up, everybody. Okay, now, speaking of young people driving, we've got a couple of young people in with us tonight. They're not quite that young, but I imagine that they started off young in the sport as well. They're both in two very separate disciplines. One is a circuit racer, the other one is on the dirt of the speedway. To find out what they're doing, because they've got big weeks ahead of them, first of all, from the XL Series and making his debut in the Australian Production Car Championship this weekend at Wakefield Park is Jay Robotham, and also alongside him is Declan Robinson, and he races junior quarter midgets. Guys, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Jay, let's start with you. How long have you been driving karts and cars and that sort of thing?
Well, I started go-karts when I was about 10 and then shifted into cars when I turned 14, and then, yeah.
Because that's the minimum age for full-blown cars,
yeah.
Or, for things like Formula V and XLs and that sort of thing.
14's the minimum age you can get a CAMS license. So yeah.
So when did you get your CAMS license?
On my 14th birthday. So
which was what, about a year ago?
Yeah, just over a year. So I turned 15 2 weeks ago.
Well, congratulations!
Yeah,
many happy returns for the day.
Yeah, thanks.
And you celebrated you actually won the South Australian XL Championship. Tell us about that.
Well, it was sort of a surprise to us because we weren't really expecting much, but yeah, ended up doing all right and winning the championship, so it's pretty good.
XLs have been an extraordinary success, haven't they? I mean, I suppose that it's an opportunity for average guys like you and I and just people out there to actually get behind the wheel and to race something at a price you can afford.
Yeah, it's a cheap way of getting into motorsports. Like, the racing's good, and yeah, it's good for anyone coming up through karts wanting to transition into cars. You can buy an XL for $5,000 or whatever, and then yeah, race all around Australia on the big tracks.
Radically different, of course, in every way, shape and form. Not only do you have a roof over your head, you've got gears to worry about and all the things, but also it's front wheel drive. How different is it to drive?
Oh, well, the front wheel drive, it's a bit different to other cars because you put the gas down, just wants to push, but yeah, they're good fun for what they are. They're not that quick, but we still hit good speeds at big tracks.
So you've obviously run in South Australia, but you're running in the Victorian series as well?
Yeah, we ran the Victoria Series. We've done one race in Queensland, one race in New South Wales, and then, yeah, we're back to Wakefield this weekend to take part in the Shannon Nationals in the XL and the production car.
Well, we'll get onto that in a moment as to how that the race how the run in the Toyota has come about. But Declan, first of all, tell us what, for people who don't know, you're in a very different sort of car from an XL. You're in a quarter midget, a junior quarter midget. What is a junior quarter midget?
It's kind of like a smaller version of a sprint car or wingless, so like at speedway and that.
So what sort of engine is powering those things?
It's got, well, my car's got a GX 160cc Honda in it, and like most of the younger kids run the 120cc.
So is it a particularly popular category? Do you have many cars turn up at most meetings?
It pretty much goes throughout like the states though. Like a couple of years back, Queensland used to be really popular with it, but now Victoria's real popular. We're getting about 30-ish, 35 cars turn up to a meet, so that's pretty good.
So did you start in speedway or did you start in karting as well?
No, I was in the crowd and then like started following sprint cars and that. Then just started playing in the backyard with the go-kart, and then turned out I just started looking and found a car.
And how old were you then?
13, like when I found the car, but as I got into it, I was 14.
So is that your long-term goal? I mean, is speedway where you want to be, or do you think that at some stage you might transition into circuit racing, or perhaps even look at something overseas? I saw you looking intensely at the NASCAR footage before. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I'll just have to see where we go. I'd prefer to stay in speedway at the moment, but I don't know, might find something else later down the track.
The thing about speedway is it's very much it's like the circus of motorsport. Don't say that in a nasty way. It's one of those things because you tour around so much. There's so many tracks, so many little tracks, and often in places where you wouldn't think there was a racetrack. You'll be sitting in a country town somewhere, and suddenly you'll see something go past on a trailer and go, "Hang on, there's a speedway around here." Where are some of the more remote places that you've raced at?
I mainly raced at Avalon, like a smaller track on Avalon.
Well, that's pretty remote. I mean, let's face it.
And then there's other tracks like Lang, which we had no clue what it was till we started getting into quarter midgets.
And so whereabouts is that?
Up near Warrnambool and that.
Yes, well, I'd never heard of that one, so...
Yeah, it's pretty much like up near Colac. It's, I think, half hour away from Warrnambool or something.
And of course, there's a whole, the speedway over the Easter. Of course, you got the Easter sprint car trial, and that sort of goes around that sort of area down into Mount Gambier and all that. So speedway is very, very strong in a lot of those towns, isn't it?
We just mainly do like local stuff at the moment because we don't have like main tracks, but we're starting to spread around. We do like demo runs and that every now and then. Where I think we're racing at Dalesford in 2 weeks' time.
Is that a problem for speedway? The fact that there's no sort of inner city or no sort of tracks that are really accessible. Avalon is the most accessible, so that's not too far out of Melbourne. That's quite reasonable. But would it be good to have a couple of other closer tracks somewhere, sort of in the outer suburbs or just on the fringe of town?
I suppose like the local tracks and that they just support themselves with like budget racing and all that. So. I don't know.
Well, Jay, you've got coming up this weekend a run in the Toyota 86 in the Australian Production Car Championship. Tell us how that happened.
Well, our main engineer works for Petters, or he owns a Petters business in Heidelberg, and sort of come about, they needed a driver for Wakefield, and yeah, sort of put our hand up, and then all went through, done a test day, went all right, and then yeah, see how we go.
And once again, a very different car to the XL. This is rear-wheel drive. How did you find the transition from there? Was it really noticeable?
Oh, just throttle control basically, because you can't really slam the foot down because you'll loop out. But yeah, it's fairly similar to drive. Like, yeah.
Have you ever run Wakefield Park before?
Nah, never. First time this weekend. So yeah.
Well, you're there at the right time of year, because the only time I ever went there, it was -3 in the morning and all the pipes frozen. It was absolutely terrible. But it is a lovely little track, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and it'll be a lot of fun. I believe that obviously Shannon's Nationals will be live streamed. So if you're not up in New South Wales around the Goulburn area and you can't get there, tune in onto the live stream and watch Jay in action. Apart from the XL, and so you're running the XL there as well, you said?
Yeah, it's XL Nationals that weekend, so we're giving that a crack, see how we end up in Australia. But yeah.
Now, how many cars have you got for the Nationals?
Just 2. Oh, for
the overall.
Overall. So we have, I don't know how many entered for the XLs, but in Victoria we usually get like 50, 55 entries, and then every state has got like reasonable numbers.
And I understand that next year the XLs are going to go to heading to the mountain, to Mount Panorama, during the Bathurst 6-hour race over Easter. I take it you would be interested in going and doing that?
Well, it's different because our club they picked who went there, and yeah, unfortunately we didn't.
So
get
it's that competitive to get onto that race that they're sending.
Yeah.
It's almost like a ballot.
Yeah, basically.
When you look at it, I mean, with that sort of demand, it shows the popularity of the sport. I mean, some things, we saw numbers are down at some categories, but boy, the XLs, just amazing numbers right around Australia.
Yeah, it's an up and coming class. Like last year, I raced one race last year. We had like 26 cars or something, and then now we're pushing like nearly 60 cars, and then all around Australia the racing's good, and yeah, it's a good category.
Okay, we'll get back to you guys in just a moment, but I just want to point out to everybody, speaking of events coming up, if we can cross to camera 1, that'd be lovely. Hello, camera 1. Hello, camera 1. Hello, camera 1. Camera 1 is over there, James. Thank you. Hello, camera 1. Now, I just want to point out that coming up in a couple of weeks' time out at Calder Park is the Rowe Memorial meeting. The Rowe Memorial meeting, Wayne and Andrew Rowe, legends of Australian motorsport, of Melbourne motorsport, and in my case, Dandenong drag racing as well. They grew up with the Rowe brothers. They were taken they lost their lives far too early, and this is a huge meeting coming up at Calder Park in a couple of weeks' time. It's got, apart from the Rowe Memorial Super Stock meeting, it also sees the return to Melbourne of the USA versus Australia Jet Funny Car Challenge. In fact, if you want to see exactly what's coming up, and gee, I'm hoping they're ready to press the button on the EVS, then take a look at this.
Super Stockers and the fire-breathing USA versus Australia Jet Funny Car Challenge. Drag racing action returns to Melbourne's Calder Park with the Rowe Memorial Super Stock Classic. See the nation's fastest drivers battle it out for the prestigious Rowe Memorial Super Stock Trophy. Plus, the spectacular USA versus Australia Jet Funny Car Challenge lights up the Calder Park night sky. Gates open at 9 a.m, racing at 4, and tickets at the gate. The Rowe Memorial Super Stock Classic, Saturday night, November 25th at Melbourne's home of drag racing, Calder Park Raceway.
Fantastic, man. I had a look at the entry list already. It's absolutely huge. Remember, if you're in Melbourne, try and get out to Calder Park. It's going to be a great day. The weather should be, keep our fingers crossed that the weather is fine. If you can't get out to Calder Park, if you're not in Melbourne, if you're anywhere outside of Victoria and you can't get down there, the good news is, once again, the team from In Pit Lane will be there, and thanks to Calder Park Drag Racing, the meeting will be streamed live. So you can see that at the Calder Park Drag Racing Facebook page, and also, of course, at inpitlane.com and the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Also, just a reminder that coming up in December, our biggest production of the year here at RMI TV, for 3 days, the Australasian Formula SAE titles, once again from Calder Park. 3 days of coverage. We'll have a special edition of In Pit Lane on Friday afternoon, and then 2 days of on-track action, acceleration, autocross, the enduro, all the action from the 2017 Formula SAE Australasia Championships. Coming up, that's the first weekend of December. Once again, we'll have more news on that over the next couple of weeks here on In Pit Lane. Now, guys, obviously, Jay, we know where you're heading next after you've finished at Wakefield. Do you have any commitments here? Are you doing Isle of Magic or anything?
There's one more round in Victoria at Winton on the 1st of December, so that'll be our last race for the season, and then next year we'll see how it goes, because first 86 round for at the V8 Supercars is April, I think, for the 86s, so
So you will be running the Toyota series?
Yeah, next year we'll be doing all the series, and yeah.
So you bought a car, or have you built it yourself, or is it one that was already been racing?
We brought one that's done about 3 races and seemed to go all right. Done a couple of test days in it, and yeah, enjoyed it, and we'll be doing that next year.
So obviously this weekend is going to be a really good opportunity for you to get some plenty of laps in and get a good feel for it before you head onto the streets of Adelaide.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And Declan, coming up with the Speedway, where are you coming up? Where can we see you over the next few weeks? What are your plans for the season?
I'll be running mainly Daylesford and Lang and Avalon, so I've got a bit travelling over the next couple of months or so, and then we should be hanging around Avalon for a couple of weeks or so, and then.
Okay, now do you have a Facebook page, or so if people want to keep in touch? Where do they go and keep track of you on social media?
We have Facebook page, YouTube, and like Instagram, just Declan Robinson Racing, pretty much.
Okay, so to look for Declan Robinson Racing. Jay, what about yourself? Do you have a
yeah, we have a
social
racing
media?
page. That's J Robotham Racing. So if you want to stay and like see what we're up to, just give that a like, and yeah, stay up to date.
Okay, guys, thanks for coming in. I know it was very, very last minute for both of you, but thank you for coming in. Good luck for both of your racing careers over the next few years, and hopefully in 10 years' time you'll be here and you'll be world champions. You won't be seeing me. I'll be gone by that. I will be in a high security twilight home by that stage if I'm still around. But either way, good luck to you there over the next over the rest of your career. And for now, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Cheers.
And thank you for breaking in our brand new studio.
It's been, yeah, thanks.
Yes, it has been. Thanks, guys. Now, thank you to you at home. Now, as I said, our band did cancel on us as well, but don't panic, because we will be taking you out with some music tonight. You know, over the years that we've been doing the show, one of the things we've been really proud of is we've had a very, very diverse range of music. We've had, you know, pretty much every sort of music, up to and including country and or western. We only did that once, only once. But we've had all sorts of music. We've had Chinese orchestras. We've had classical musicians. We also, last year, you might remember, we had some music, some Afghan pop music from a guy called Tucky Khan. And Tucky is a huge name in the Afghan community. And we had lots and lots of people were really keen to see more of it. Well, he recorded a second song for us, and we're going to take that. He's going to take us out with that tonight. So until we see you next week, I believe we're going to be in another new studio, an even bigger studio next week probably. So who knows, and hopefully, as I say, we will have John Davison with us next week. If not, stay tuned to the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and click on the bell notification things, because that way every time we put something to air, doesn't matter whether it's a show or highlights or extended interviews or bands or anything, you'll find out about it immediately. You just press a button and you're there. It's that simple. But until we see you next week, from all of us here at In Pit Lane, it's good night. And here's Tucky Khan and Kabul. Good night.
شوم زرگر برای دل برخو شوم زرگر برای دل برخو از الماسی سفید چار گل بسازم را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم برایش خانه در کابل بسازم برایش خانه در کابل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم شوم زرگر برای دل برخو شوم زرگر برای دل برخو از الماسی سفید چار گل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم شوم آهوی سارا روم تا سوی شهر بهاران شوم آهوی دشت و کوسارا روم تا سوی شهر بهاران برای شب نمی شب در بیارم و یا رنگین کمان باد باران و یا رنگین کمان باد باران برایش خانه در کابل بسازم برایش خانه در کابل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم شوم زرگر برای دل برخو شوم زرگر برای دل برخو از الماسی سفید چار گل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم شکوفه های لالک را برایش همه گل های پیچک را برایش شکوفه های لالک را برایش همه گل های پیچک را برایش بچینم از هزارست و بیارم بپاشم دانه دانه زیر پایش بپاشم دانه دانه زیر پایش برایش خانه در کابل بسازم برایش خانه در کابل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم شوم زرگر برای دل برخو شوم زرگر برای دل برخو از الماسی سفید چار گل بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم او را از گل کدام مقبول بسازم